Welcome back to the Lap Podcast. I am Tristan Rhines alongside Khaki Kevin Walker. We're hosting your destination Formula One podcast for Formula One fans by Formula One fans. A wild Japanese Grand Prix weekend is now in the rearview mirror. We've got plenty to discuss. Before we get started, Khaki Kevin Walker, tell the people what they got to do.
Hit that QR code right there in the top left-hand corner right above Tristan's beautiful head, if you will. That is where you can find all of our social medias and our YouTube channel, along with anywhere else that you want to reach us on. Be sure to leave a comment, like, subscribe, do all the fun things. Share us with all your friends and family as well. It only helps create and grow the brand. So just hit that QR code. It's going to pop up a link tree, and just you can follow us and subscribe to us on any of the platforms that you so choose right there.
Also scroll
right
at the
there.
bottom, by the way. All of our social media handles right down there. They can also find us there.
Yeah, you can follow us personally if you want to.
Yep. Just, be nice. Don't hop in the DMs, being too aggressive.
I mean, I'll take some negative criticism if I deserve it.
I don't mind negative criticism. I just let's keep it respectful. But all that to say, we're at the 130 subscriber mark on YouTube. That's the main hub. That's the main platform. We're chasing the magical 1,000. So if you haven't yet, like Khaki Kevin Walker just said, join the rest of the TLPs. Subscribe, give us a like, drop a comment, share the videos with your friends, your fam, your fellow F1 fans. We appreciate every little bit of support. So let's just hop right into this thing. Kimi Antonelli has now gone back-to-back with wins, standing on the top step. I mean, honestly, couldn't be better for this side of the podcast. Another win in Japan for the Mercedes 19-year-old. He's still too young to actually have champagne on the podium, by the way. They're using rose water during his celebrations, depending on the country he's in. But just a couple of episodes ago, I asked this question. Are we underestimating Antonelli versus George Russell? After going back-to-back, I think the conversation opens up a little bit more. I want to know what the fans think. Is Kimi Antonelli in year 2 really capable of taking it to George Russell over the course of a 22-race season? Khaki Kevin Walker, your thoughts?
Ooh, I think it's a loaded question, because I don't think we're underestimating either of these drivers at all. I think they're both performing very high with a high-performing car. I think some luck has fallen the way of Kimi Antonelli for sure, and unlucky has been George Russell these past couple of weeks. One would argue, especially him, who has made his opinions very, very well known. I think it falls more on the unlucky side for George Russell, but Kimi was driving a rocket ship in Japan over the weekend. And it proved the same during the race, even though one could argue the safety car changed it all. And we'll jump into that a little bit later on when it comes to my papaya team. But Kimi was driving a rocket ship from start to finish all weekend long. And George just kind of looked compromised with the new upgrades that Mercedes brought. So I wouldn't say we're underestimating either. I think it's going to be a little bit more of a trade-off. I'm not quite there saying that Kimi's going to be able to put a driver's championship title fight against George Russell only in year 2. Not quite.
I think we're kind of along the same lines. As big of a fan of Kimi's that I am, I think he did get a bit of a lucky break on the safety car timing. I think he got a little bit of a lucky break, though, admittedly. Like 100% racing from behind in more dirty air could have changed some things. However, I think considering the pace that Mercedes under Kimi was showing, what he was capable of doing, he was definitely the fastest man on track the entire weekend in Japan. I think he probably still could have caught Oscar on merit for the race lead. Japan's a harder circuit to pass on, but I think that Kimi had enough juice, so to speak, to make that happen. I think it could have been a really competitive race all the way down to the end with those two. The way the McLarens looked in Japan, by the way, they looked really hooked up. It looks like they're learning, they're figuring things out. Who knew? You put Oscar Piastri in a car that can actually make the start line, and he can put it on the podium in his first time out. Who knows?
Yeah, let's get more of those starts, why don't we?
My preseason prediction still has some weight to it. We'll see how it goes. But speaking about Antonelli, he had a huge qualifying performance over George Russell and converted it into his back-to-back victory here, the big celebrations. And talking about George Russell, though, on the other side of this, yeah, George struggled notably with his setup across the entire weekend. He finished like 15 seconds up the road. Antonelli finished 15 seconds up the road from Piastri, but Russell really struggled to fight against both of the Ferraris this past weekend. And a lot of that attributed to, in his opinion, was setup. It was just, it never quite got there for the entire weekend. It never was quite hooked up. But even Toto Wolff has come out and said that if they had kind of gotten things right, they would have expected George to be right up there at the front, fighting for the race win. But a strong weekend did have a massive caveat. Like I said, Antonelli, though, still has things to work on. The race start from pole position down to sixth place.
That was rough.
Is incredibly rough. I mean, both Mercedes looked really rough off the line, admittedly, but
that's been the case. That's been the case to start the year so far.
It's one thing like to compare them to the Ferraris, who have been an absolute rocket off the line. That's not shocking, but to have both McLarens and both Ferraris and your teammate pass by you in the opening moments of the Grand Prix, that is something that Kimi Antonelli has consistently needed to work on, even going back to last year's regulations. So he's still got stuff to work on. I don't expect Mercedes to be this much of a sitting duck off the line the entirety of the season, something they're probably going to work on the same way that Ferrari are going to try to work on, updating and upgrading the engine and try to catch Mercedes. But if you're Kimi Antonelli, to try to bring an actual title fight, there are just some things he needs to clean up. Race starts first and foremost, and then obviously just doing his best to keep things as clean as possible on track. But I think Russell overall is still just going to be faster over the course of the season. I think that experience factor when the car is underneath him and he's not struggling with rear instability like he was this weekend. I think Russell having a bad weekend in Japan and less opportunity in China has opened this door for Kimi. Kimi has done the job. He's gotten these back-to-back wins. He has earned them. But there is still the caveat of, well, we all still kind of see and know how good George can be. George was struggling in Japan. The most recent race, it's very easy to forget how strong George Russell has looked over the course of his entire career. The trajectory of Kimi is great, and I'm incredibly excited to see what it's going to look like even going into year 3. But I think over the course of the next, 19 rounds, even Toto Wolff's like, let's not talk about world championships for Kimi. Like, it's way too early. It's way too early in the season for us to even be like this much of a favorite still. Who knows what's going to happen in the next 5 weeks, which we'll talk a little bit about later.
Well, I was going to say, and that's, I think, I know we're going to talk about the 5-week break here in a little bit, but that's another thing to consider in this whole thing. We are only 2 races into this season.
3.
Sorry, I meant to say 3. 3 races into the season. There is no championship that is going to be decided in 3 weeks. Or 3 races, I should say, not 3 weeks, but 3 races. And who's to say that this entire playing field is not to look the same in 5 weeks? These teams are going to be able to understand these cars a little bit more. They're going to be able to put together these upgrade packages that they need to do. I'd assume McLaren's going to be hard at work. I know Ferrari's going to be hard at work. All of these guys who have had a rough start to the year and these teams who have had a rough start to the year, they're going to use this time to kind of get back and understand these regulations even a little bit more. It's almost like it was like a preseason test, even though those 3 races do count. Now they get a chance to be like, okay, now we're racing in the regulations. Now we understand the regulations. We can understand what we need to get better at. It could be an entirely different playing field when we come back.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, again, Mercedes are not going to rest on their laurels after 3 race weekends.
Of course.
I don't imagine that they're going to not bring something of an upgrade into Miami when we do come back. Everybody's going to look pretty different, which again, we're going to talk a little bit more about later on in this episode. But all that being said, when it comes to even the Mercedes drivers, though, I think both of them really understand that, look, this is still George's team, that this is still George's championship to lose, so to speak, and that Mercedes still have 19 more rounds to go. They've got a lot more racing ahead of them. And based on what we saw out of Japan, it's not impossible to predict that somebody else might be able to grab the top step at some point this season. Mercedes are pretty far ahead at this stage. Don't get me wrong. It's going to be tough to beat them probably over the course of the rest of the season. They're at times 8/10 up the road in qualifying. And if they figure out those race starts, who knows what the results of those weekends are really going to look like. But McLaren are classically and historically great at developing mid-season and over the course of the season. Ferrari have not been messing around in terms of what their objectives are and what their goals are, and seeing how close they are battling the Mercedes on merit right now. It's not impossible to think Lewis or Charles are going to be grabbing a top step at some point this season too. Long break ahead. Who knows what the rest of the season is going to look like? All that to say, though, I imagine that George Russell's probably going to show back up and take this championship back at some point. Kimi Antonelli struggled mightily during the European stretch of last season. There was no titanium dioxide, in the food. So, he struggles again in Europe. Who knows? Portions of that, in my opinion, were more on the team, but Kimi did show those rookie struggles during the European section of the season. I think it's still too early to call this a true championship fight. It's awesome that Kimi is now the youngest drivers' championship leader in F1 history, by the way. Super cool thing to have, on your resume, right? The youngest ever to lead the drivers' championship. The most recent Italian driver to win back-to-back races in Formula One history. Last time that happened was, Alberto Ascari forever ago. So there's a lot of positivity coming out of the Mercedes camp right now. There's a lot of positivity with Kimi Antonelli, but I think, again, year 2 driver versus George Russell across the board, I think is very, very, very optimistic. Some other stuff that did happen this weekend, though. Oliver Bearman, he had a really big crash, a really big incident during this last weekend's Grand Prix. A very scary sight. Pulling this up from Motorsport here, a replay of that crash itself, catching a lot of fans off guard. Very jarring impact, 50G estimate on the actual impact itself going into Spoon. It was a scary walk away from that impact. Bearman was limping away, and the speculation obviously starts flying the second somebody looks like a wounded duck. I saw that Chris Medlin reported a right knee contusion, but the team basically posted that he was fine after the race. Thankfully, perfectly okay. There are a lot of different ways to look at what happened here. I want to start at fault, right? Who was at fault? Haas came out pretty quickly and did not assume that, Franco Colapinto was doing anything ill intent, that, it was just more of a racing incident, that both parties were kind of in the right and the wrong. I think maybe it's controversial, but I do think that Colapinto does own some of the blame for this incident. And, Argentinian fans, I know, just be careful. I'm not trying to piss everybody off. But I think that if you are in the position that you're the much slower car, I think it's a little bit irresponsible to throw your car into the middle of the road and force the driver who is going to overtake you into a normally non-traditional passing zone to have to take what is effectively almost an evasive action. Colapinto was not seen as doing anything wrong, but I do feel like it's a little bit disingenuous to say that he didn't do anything wrong. He couldn't have done anything better. He's a slower car. I mean, I think it's one thing to block when you're fighting at the same level, same levels of speed, to defend properly. But I just feel like Franco Colapinto setting his car in the middle of the road at that section of the track was a bit irresponsible, in my opinion. But Oliver Bearman, his side of things, maybe don't attempt the pass with the overtake going into the Spoon corner. Wait until going into 130R, a more traditional passing area, and maybe that's a pass that holds and sticks. All in all, I think both drivers could have done better. It's unfortunate that Bearman had this crash, but I also think this crash is being used as a lightning rod by a lot of fans who can't stand the regulations, who have been incredibly loud and vocal on social media that the entire regulations need to be thrown out, and that they're utilizing this incident as a lightning rod to say, look, here it is. This is why they suck. Kevin Walker, your thoughts before I continue to monologue. I don't want to overtake this entire section.
No, I want you to keep going. I want you to keep going because you're kind of the technical guy here. You kind of understand things a little bit more from a technical side. I'm just the cool guy with the cool hair that gives opinions every now and then. But I want you to tell the TLPs your opinion, but I want you to follow up with why. Why would the FIA make a change based on Oliver Bearman's incident? Why would they make a change? Well,
they did put out this statement I'm going to share here. I'm going to read. since their introduction in the 2026 regs, have been subject to the ongoing discussions between the FIA, the teams, the power unit manufacturers, drivers, and the FOM. By design, these regulations include a number of adjustable parameters, particularly in relation to energy management, allows for optimization based on real-world data. So it's basically addressing, in my opinion, that particular incident. Been a consistent position of everybody. A structured review would take place after the opening phase of the season. So they're going to look at everything this upcoming month off and, make any changes or refinements during that segment of time, or at least make any amendments. Potential adjustments are going to have to go through analysis and tests and simulations, and the FIA is going to work collaboratively with everybody to basically try to find the best resolutions to everything. Any speculation, though, of actual major changes is incredibly premature, and further updates are going to be communicated in due course. So doing my best to kind of summarize and paraphrase and read little bits and chunks there. Basically, in a lot of words, they're looking into refining stuff during April, and they're not planning any major overhauls without a lot of testing and a lot of data. My question for the fans who are utilizing this as a lightning rod moment is it about safety, or is it about having the elbows too pointy? And I don't like it because everybody on the internet told me not to like it. And maybe it's a controversial opinion, but I don't hate these regulations. And I think the loudest voices in these conversations have been the ones in the negative. The most ongoing comment section stuff has been, these regs are the worst. This isn't the Formula One that I love. This isn't competitive. This is all low calorie, blah, blah, blah. There are some things that are working well, and there are some things that are working poorly. But overall, I think a lot of the discussions around these regulations are giving off change bad and I don't want to vibes. Bearman's crash is being used, again, in my opinion, as kind of a lightning rod about the safety element of this. And there are real concerns about the safety element of this. Nobody likes to see crashes ever. Approaching another car from behind with a 60-kilometer-per-hour offset is going to lead to incidents over the course of the season. Hopefully, not involving cars slamming into each other.
Yeah.
The FIA does need to take steps to avoid major on-track crashes. That, in my opinion, would be a step in the right direction. Improving that safety factor where somebody's not getting absolutely slammed into from behind. Something that could have happened, by the way, if Colapinto had gone even further left. Could have absolutely just led into that incident. That being said, if you're going to race cars, you're going to crash cars. The cars themselves are safe. The technology has come a long way. The circuits themselves have come a long way. There are going to be incidents. Things do happen over the course of an entire season. In this crash, Bearman walking away with a bit of a limp, scary, yes. Not nearly the most severe or scary crash we've seen in Formula One, even in the last year. Yuki Tsunoda flipping in Imola being the first thing that comes to mind. I remember Lance Stroll's crash in Singapore in 2024. That was an incredibly scary crash. I think he totaled like 70 Gs or whatever, slamming into the wall going into like the main straight. He walked away, concussion, it was fine. Yuki Tsunoda walked away from the incident in Imola, fine. There weren't questions about whether or not the sport was safe, and we need to change every single thing about the sport.
Yeah.
Because of incidents during the last regulations. So again, I feel like there's a little bit of a disingenuous nature to it. Happy Oliver Bearman's okay. You hate to see people get in scary accidents in the first place, but yes, there are things that need to be changed, but I don't think that this singular incident is going to be the big hallmark on why we're throwing away the whole season because people aren't happy. Concerns and alternatives to me that don't make a lot of sense. Reliability. Look, there are going to be new engines across the board. There's a lot of new parts and components. Every team needs to wrap their minds around this. April break's going to be huge for that. Compared to the last engines we had for like a decade, they're not going to be reliable. They're just not going to be there yet. Safety, again, crashes happen. You don't want them to happen, but it's a part of motorsports. Incidents do happen. Battery deploy. This is something I do agree with a lot of the criticisms on. The auto battery deploy zones, I think, are really questionable, and they can lead to some incidents without the drivers thinking about it. Because this was brought to my attention, I had read somewhere that basically, a couple of the sections, they're automatically going to deploy the battery if there's charge in it.
That's a bad idea.
Drivers, in my opinion, should have the ability to activate or deactivate their battery in the deploy zones rather than just the overtake mode, similar to like how DRS was like a button you had to press every time you entered that zone. It's not automatic.
Make it manual.
Make it manual. I agree here. Give the drivers more control. Don't just make it automatic.
Yeah.
But I do think the overtake mode that they do have control over is cool. I think it's a neat feature for the current regulations. If you're going to have a 50-50 battery split, it creates a lot more passing opportunities on tracks. It doesn't make one pass the end of the entire fight. Because admittedly, look.
Well, let me jump in real quick.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, because as the TLPs know, I'm a Lando guy. I'm a McLaren guy. And Lando was complaining after Japan, saying that this isn't the racing he likes. And the phrase he used was yo-yoing. And I think that is a fair description to explain how this racing looks, because you can pass them and then you save up your battery and then you pass them again. But I don't think, from a fan's perspective, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think yo-yoing makes it fun. It's kind of like,
I mean, there's an actual fight happening for positions over the course of more than just one corner or one straight.
Right,
like,
exactly.
There's actual competition happening here, and drivers do have to think more strategically. One of the big critiques is, well, they're not flat out all the time. It's not the same as it has been. I'm like, well, but they have to relearn how to drive these cars. They're new cars. It's a new technology. Every time there's a regulation change, you want there to be a bit of a shakeup. Lando Norris, Max Verstappen have been very loud voices about not enjoying these regulations. But 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton's like, dude, this is the most fun I've had in like a decade driving cars. Like, I'm having a ball. I'm having a good time.
I mean, I really enjoyed watching him and Charles go at it. You want to talk about yo-yoing? That yo-yoing, it was going up and down, up and down, up and down. Just like a kid.
That was one of the most fun battles we saw during Japan. That was certainly some of the most highlight action we saw out of China. Like, that was awesome. That was fun. Changing the driving style, it's a new challenge. Everybody has to adapt to it. And the sentiments I've seen have been all over and everywhere. I don't think that there are a lot of practical solutions being thrown about. If you go into an average comment section, it's like, we need the V10s. Okay, the V10s sound cool, but like, that's not a practical solution to this. Or why don't they just put the engines in from last year? The cars aren't built to, from a chassis perspective, to hold and contain these engines. You can't just drop them in like random, like you're swapping a VTEC in your Honda. Like, it doesn't work that way. So they don't fit, and they would take too much time to develop and work. Go ahead.
The fans need to adjust too. We talked all preseason long about how these drivers are going to have to adjust. The teams are going to have to adjust. Like, all the adjustment that needed to take place for these new regulations. But there's one important part that we forgot, and that's the fans. The fans need to adjust to these new regulations as well. Because if we can't adjust to them, speaking from a fan perspective, then we're not going to be able to enjoy it. And though I don't love everything that Lando said coming out of Japan, he did finish his quote with saying, look, whatever the fans like is what the fans are going to get. And this is seemingly what the fans like so far. So they're going to keep doing it. They understand, the drivers understand, even if they don't love all 22 drivers on the track, even if they don't love the new regulations, they know that it's what the fans want. They know they want the fans want overtaking. The fans want passive. The fans want yo-yo racing, if that is what we're going to call it. That's what they want. So they have to deliver what the fans want. So as fans,
the fastest cars on track are still the ones who are finishing up the order, by the way. It's not like you have like a Williams who's climbed his way up because of the battery deploy and like they're the ones who are winning, or Cadillac are doing it, or Aston Martin. Like, the best teams and the best cars with the best drivers are still winning these races, but the racing itself has gotten a little bit more aggressive. It's gotten a little bit more competitive. It just has. It's gotten a little bit less, okay, he got him at turn 1, he's got the clean air, he's gone. It's over. Bye. Race is over. Let's watch the procession. Like, I understand last year was a lot of fun, but let's not forget that like a couple years ago, with all due respect to Max Verstappen, his insanely dominant 2023 season, we looked at what Red Bull did in 2023 and we're like, man, well, I guess we're just going to run away with it. It's all over. This is going to be the sport for the next 3 or 4 years. No one's going to catch Red Bull, and Max is going to win the next 4 championships or 3 championships or whatever. And then the next year, McLaren came out and won the constructors. And the year after that, they won the drivers and the constructors and had actual battles with Red Bull and Ferrari along the way during those periods too. Mercedes are up the road right now, but the cost cap and the aero regulations are going to bring things a little bit closer over time. Right now, even the competitiveness of the driving and the racing, Mercedes aren't just running away every single weekend. We're actually having to watch them battle it out with the Ferraris or the McLarens, respectfully. And take the opportunities on track. George Russell was he was a half a sitting duck because Mercedes had some technical issues. All that to say, I think, circling back, I think a lot of the loudest voices in these conversations have been of fans saying, these all suck and I hate them. But why? Well, I hate them because I was told to hate them. Maybe it's contrary to like things and like be a little bit positive, but like this is entertaining. I can't sit here and honestly elbows pointed out going, this isn't fun. I'm not having fun. This isn't cool. I can't. These are low calorie overtakes, and I watching the drivers actually have to battle it out for more than one corner and one straight. I don't like that. Sorry, it's kind of entertaining. You can't look me square in the face and say this isn't entertaining at all. There's no spectacle to this. Because even the F1 fans who are complaining, you're still showing up to watch. You're showing up to watch. You can insist. Oh, I don't watch. I mean, if you're watching the content right now, that means you watched the last Grand Prix weekend. We appreciate you being here. Again, maybe it's a contrary opinion, but I feel like a lot of the loudest opinion has been, we hate this and it all sucks. Does it need tweaks? Yes. Are there things that could be done to make things a little bit safer, maybe a little bit more organic? Yes, 100%. April is going to see a lot of little changes and little tweaks, but there's no practical solution. Just throw it all out. Put the old cars back on the track. That's not going to work. That doesn't just happen. It's not a solution. We're going to be seeing these for the next couple of years. The racing is going to get better. The beginning of a regulation, it always looks kind of clunky. The drivers are all trying to figure everything out at the same time, especially with an engine upgrade, especially with an engine update, the way that we've seen now. Again, 2022 versus now, at least the engines were the same. The cars just behave differently. Ground effect, right? Everything has changed about this sport during this regulation overhaul. And the engineers and the aerodynamicists and the people behind the scenes who make these cars and put them out on track are going to figure out ways to make them faster in the corners and to stop the super clipping and to find ways to make them consistently quick and fast over the course of the entire track. Give it some time. I know we're right now. I got to have it. I need it right now. I want everything to be changed and perfect right now. But that's not how it works. And that's not how this sport works. Not how it works traditionally. It's not how it's ever really worked. And just be patient. If this isn't what you want right now, take a break. Touch some grass.
Take 5 weeks
Go outside.
off, specifically.
Take 5 weeks off. Take 5 weeks off specifically. Maybe things are going to look a little bit different in Miami. And then they're going to get 3 more weeks. They are. And that's going to be a good segue, by the way. F1 is taking off for 5 weeks. Bahrain, Saudi Arabia are canceled. And now we're facing a lot of, if we're being completely honest, Kevin, we're facing a lot of nothing happening in F1 for April. What's even worse is that even after we get some F1 back, just a little, we're going to get another 3-week break right after it. One race over the next, now, as we record this, 7 weeks is painful. It hurts, especially for what we do. This is fun for us. We come on every week. Usually we have like a Grand Prix to like preview, or there's some news going into a weekend, or we just came out of a race weekend. There's all sorts of stuff to talk about. We're going to have nothing. This is an impromptu break. We didn't ask for this. I mean, I'm getting a little bit more time with my kid, right? My family, to readjust back to my sleep schedule, which it is taking its toll. And I haven't even started work yet. Adjustments are hard. But all that to say, man, this gives the teams a lot of time to upgrade the cars and fine-tune things. I will say it is an actual positive for the teams. It's got to be a positive for McLaren fans, for Ferrari fans. I think there's basically Mercedes are performing so well that everybody that isn't Mercedes can upgrade the engines a little bit more. Or I guess maybe not the Mercedes engine customers, but like this is a great opportunity for Ferrari, for Red Bull, for Honda, for Audi to upgrade the engines a little bit during this break and try to close that gap a little bit more.
If you're
they get the opportunity to do that.
If you're not a Mercedes fan, McLaren have to be up there with feeling like that third race was promising.
Yeah.
Like, normally,
now you get to walk into the next 5 weeks before Miami with some hopium. Like,
yeah, no, I really like
breathe it in, baby.
I really am gonna have some hopium because Lando had a good weekend. Oscar had an even better weekend. I can't get the start that they had out of my mind. It was just so beautiful watching Oscar and Lando off that line. It was just chef's kiss magnificent.
Yeah.
If we can
And
get
Japan
that,
is a circuit. Japan
some
is,
good
by the way, a
racing.
circuit that really works for what McLaren does. Like, they built their car to be really good and like, you know, a large amount of cornering like configurations. That car looked really, really good. It looked really hooked up through the S's, in the spoon, through the hairpins. Like, the McLaren corners really, really well. Unfortunately, it just suffers on the straights, right? But fine tuning is going to happen here. You got to have a lot of hope now. I mean, yeah, as a McLaren fan, like, how do you feel about the rest of the season after watching Japan? Like, a long and short of it.
I feel really good about it. I feel like we can now start fighting for podiums again, and I think we can really take that battle to Ferrari. And if we keep progressing, I mean, you said it, so I don't have to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. We are the team that does the best at middle of the season upgrades. It's just what we do. We have actually turned a car from last to first in a season in the middle of the season. It's not easy to do, and I'm not saying that we're going to do it again, but it does give me hope based on what we've done in the past. There's precedent for this when it comes to McLaren. So I do have hope, and I do have some optimism that this year's not going to be a dud, and maybe if we can get our cars across the track every time, then I feel really, really good about what we can do this year.
Another thing that like went really under the radar this past weekend was every car made the start
passing
line
you in
during the
P10.
race.
Oh yeah, that too.
That didn't happen yet, but yet. And you're right on my tail. But every car made the start line. We did not see that in Australia. We did not see that in China during the sprint or the feature race. But every one of the 22 cars actually at least started the damn race. That's a huge step forward. Everybody's learning in real time, developing in real time.
Shout out to you, Aston Martin, for building a car that will actually work, kind of.
That'll start. Now, Lance Stroll, I don't think he finished, but Fernando Alonso actually finished the race 2 laps down, but he finished the race. It's not all doom and gloom. 5 weeks off, we can all go touch some grass. We can breathe in the air. You can watch more of the Lap Podcast content, by the way. You know, feel free.
Oh, yeah.
We're not going to dissuade you from doing that. You know, turn it on, leave it on. You know, that's a, you know. But, and there are also other things to watch during this break, mind you. There are complete other series that if you're a Formula One fan who has a racing itch and maybe you don't have like a steering wheel at home to like race all the tracks that we're missing out on, there are a number of racing series Overtake put together to watch and enjoy during this break. Loads and loads and loads and loads of different events during the entire month of April with ways to watch them, by the way, right here on this right side. And it's not like Overtake are paying us or anything like that, no sponsorship, but like they put together an entire way for you to engage with motorsports over the next month without F1 action in the middle of it. So if you want to learn a little bit more about GT racing, or you want to see a little bit more action out of, I don't know, like the Goodwood Special event or IndyCar or MotoGP, like there is stuff to like sink your teeth into if you're just a fanatic about racing.
And if you're a fan of Michael Jordan, his team in the NASCAR ranks is doing some pretty exceptional things. So if you're a big fan of NASCAR,
there's 3 NASCAR races in April, by the way. So I mean, like, dude, if you love Jordan.
Tyler Reddick has won 4 races so far in the NASCAR calendar season, and he races for the Jordan brand. So if you're a big fan of Michael Jordan, go catch you a NASCAR race. You know, we're not saying you only have to watch Formula One, as long as you know that it's the pinnacle. That's all that matters.
Yeah. Just keep on coming back. Make sure to subscribe, get all the updates. And look, it's not like we're going to leave you guys with no content during this break too. We're throwing some ideas around behind the scenes. We're going to try to throw at least some fun shorts out there, some smaller, some shorter content. And if there's huge breaking news, we're going to do an emergency pod. We're going to do emergency breaking news and come, give you an episode to sink our teeth into something interesting for the next,
like
for
where
30
the hell
minutes.
Jonathan Wheatley's actually going to go.
Where in the world is Jonathan Wheatley? The question that nobody seems to be able to answer. But one of those things that we're considering doing are quizzes, fun little things to engage with and sink your teeth into. Last week, I did a blind 5 with Yaki Kevin Walker. Tried to bait him into something. Didn't quite catch him out the way I thought I was going to. But it's Kev's turn. Kevin here has a quiz for me.
I do have a quiz for you. I'm very, very excited for this. So
hopefully I don't embarrass myself.
So while you're looking for all the races and things to watch during the time off in April, you could go onto the F1 TV website and or app and stream some of the old races and learn some F1 history like I'm about to quiz Tristan on right now. 15 questions, Tristan. How many do you think you'll get before we get into this?
I'm hoping to meet
intermediate level.
I'm hoping I can at least get half of them. I'm not an encyclopedia of everything, but I'm hoping I can get at least half.
This is TLPs. I just want you to know this is the same guy who said your knowledge does not stand an effing chance against mine. He said that before we started the podcast. I don't have any recorded proof, but he definitely said that. Okay.
I need you during this break to watch more history, sir.
Question 1. Which team introduced the revolutionary double diffuser that helped dominate the 2009 season? We can do this one of two ways. I have multiple choice, or if you want to guess the answer.
I already know the answer to this question,
okay.
But I might go to the multiple choice for some of these.
Okay.
But it's the Braun GP car. Braun GP, yup, took the W. At the time, super controversial double diffuser. The Disney Plus actually has an amazing documentary talking about that season. Keanu Reeves hosts and puts together the whole thing. He's a huge F1 fan. I'll give you some homework, Khaki Kevin Walker. Watch that documentary. You'll see a lot of faces and a lot of people in that documentary that you are familiar with that were a part of that team and that story. That year was insane. Yeah, and if you haven't watched it, any of the TLPs, honestly, I highly encourage it. The Braun documentary is awesome.
Which circuit is known as the Temple of Speed?
Monza.
Okay, there you go. Question number 2 in the books. Who was the youngest Formula One world champion in history?
Sebastian Vettel.
There you go. Question number 3 in the books. Which tire manufacturer returned to Formula One as the sole supplier in 2011?
Pirelli.
Okay, there you go. What does DRS stand for?
Drag reduction system. And it's gone and it's dead and we don't have to watch it ruin our racing anymore. Oh my God. DRS was cool. A little, but it made the racing a lot more predictable. A lot of fans across the board are happy that it's gone, actually. It's a neat concept, but it really just made overtakes that much more of a slam dunk than anything else.
Which driver famously won the 2020 Secure Grand Prix as a substitute for Mercedes AMG Petronas Formula One team? Did I say that right? Secure?
Yeah. That would have been, like Bahrain at the time. Well, 2020. George didn't win in 2020 with them. He was driving. Might have gotten me. It wasn't Bottas, was it? Not in 2020. Valtteri Bottas? Was he? I don't know if he was. Wait, man, this is kind of funny. Because he. I'm gonna say Bottas. I think that might have been like one of his first shots. No, because he was with the team winning championships then. George Russell had an opportunity to win with Mercedes though, and didn't. It was crazy. He had like a really rough showing. He would have won too. He was replacing Lewis. It's not George Russell.
Do you want your answer choices, sir?
Yeah, give me a multiple choice.
I think you're going to get it off the multiple choice, though. So I'm going to say that you got this wrong because all the names you said were incorrect. A is George Russell. B, Sergio Perez. C, Esteban Ocon. Or D, Valtteri Bottas.
Well, Perez was driving for Racing Point. That wouldn't have made sense. So it would be Ocon? Ocon won driving a Mercedes?
Nope. The answer is Sergio Perez.
No, Perez drove for Racing Point, man. He wasn't the sub for Mercedes then.
Ooh,
he went like last to first because they had to do 2 races in Bahrain. George Russell subbed for Mercedes and he would have won. He was kicking a lot of ass that day and had a couple of things go wrong. He had like a tire puncture that knocked him out, and like a really rough like pit strategy. But like he was flying up the field. It was his first shot in the Mercedes, and it just like didn't go his way. So I was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think the question got misconstrued based on where I grabbed it from.
This is rough, buddy. Because I know Sergio Perez did win that race. He went from like last to first. It was
That's
crazy.
what I'm saying. I think
Racing
the question got a little messed up there. Okay, so we're gonna move on because that was.
I mean, I can't edit this out, buddy. Come on, man.
That's fine. Look, that's not on me though. That's not my fault. ChatGPT needs to get their game up.
Why are you trusting the AI, man? Come on.
Which corner at Spa?
This is why you need to watch more F1 history. This is your wake up call.
Okay.
I didn't get it wrong. You got it wrong.
I didn't say you got it wrong. Calm down. Which corner at Spa is one of the most famous high speed sections in F1?
Eau Rouge.
There you go. Nailed it. How many points are awarded for a race win?
25.
Okay. Which team did Michael Schumacher win 5 consecutive championships with?
Ferrari, baby.
What color? Why? Oh wow, words. What color flag indicates a slower car ahead?
Blue flag.
There you go. Which driver is nicknamed the Honey Badger?
Oh, Daniel Ricciardo.
Okay, there you go. Which country hosts the night race at Marina Bay?
Oh, Singapore.
What is the minimum weight of an F1 car, including driver, under recent regulations?
Okay, there's like a very specific number for this. I thought it was like 814 kilos or something like that. I'm probably off. Lower than that. Yeah, I'm off by it then, because I can't remember the exact number. I know it's remarkably lower than you would think, though.
Okay, so A, 702, B, 752, C, 798, or D, 820 kilograms.
790?
798 is the correct choice for.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I knew it was like around that 800 mark. I just couldn't remember the exact number. Thank you.
Which team has the prancing horse logo?
Ferrari.
Okay, and then last one here. Which famous corner complex is nicknamed Maggots and Beckett's?
Oh, I mean, that's at Silverstone, if that's what you're asking.
Yes.
Yeah. British Grand Prix. That's a great section. I like doing that one on the racing sim.
I need to make these questions a little harder. I just wanted to give you an easy first quiz. It's just this one question. I'm going to have to try to use something else next time because this question let me down on number 6 here. I refuse to take blame.
That, but also, dude, go back and watch them. You got to go watch some of these things, man. Like, that weekend was crazy because they did like 2 different configurations, if I'm not mistaken, for Bahrain that weekend. So yeah, secure is Bahrain, but it was a different configuration. The lap was like barely a minute in qualifying. It's crazy. That's all we got. That's what we got.
Yeah, that's all I got. I'm just trying to figure out what this question is supposed to be asking. I think it's supposed to ask which driver famously won the 2020 Secure Grand Prix despite a substitute for Mercedes AMG Petronas, because that question makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, I mean, it still would have been Checo Perez.
Right, that's the answer. So I'm thinking that the question was worded incorrectly. I think it should have said despite.
It was worded really funny. But if you had watched it, you would know that
I was in high school, Tristan. I was in high school, okay?
Doesn't matter. You had access. You could have done it. I've done it. All right, anyway. All that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to try to come back next week with a little bit more fun games. Khaki Kevin Walker is going to try to come up with another quiz, maybe. I'm going to try to come up with a nice little blind ranking, vice versa, blah, blah, blah. Homework needs to be done by members of this podcast. But all that to say...
the camera guy back there.
That's going to do it for this episode of the Lap Podcast. This absolute mess at the end. We stuttered. We got there. We want to thank you guys still for watching or listening all the way to the end. If you haven't joined the rest of the TLPs yet, subscribe to the channel. We are still chasing the magical 1,000 mark. It costs you absolutely nothing at all to help support this channel. Helps us massively with the algorithm if you subscribe. Maybe toss in a comment here and there. Brings us in front of more F1 fans just like yourselves. And we're going to be back for another episode ahead of the Miami Grand Prix, for sure. But we're going to bring some more content to you guys during this break, whether in short form or in video form. We're going to be working on stuff behind the scenes. We do not want to lose any F1 fans mid-season, certainly. So Maybe you have any ideas for us. You want to ask us some fun questions, feel free to drop in the comments below. But until next time, that is Khaki Kevin Walker. I am Tristan Rhines. Be safe, be well, and ladies and gentlemen, let's go racing.